and welcome back to my channel. So today I have another Sims 4 speed build for you, and this one I decided to actually give myself a budget. Like, I feel like it didn't go super great last time, but I think part of the problem was since I was doing only base game, I didn't have access to the more cost-effective items in the game. And so I decided that I wanted to build a home for only 12,000 simoleons. Originally, I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll do 10,000. And then I was like, be realistic, Rachel. Go ahead and tack another 2,000 simoleons on there. But I feel like 12,000 simoleons is still like a really good deal. Like, that still leaves you a ton of money left over just for starter gameplay. Or something you can move into, like if you're trying to do some sort of like legacy challenge or extreme challenge where you start out with no money. I feel like it wouldn't take you too terribly long to get enough money to actually get this house. So I feel like this would be a really useful house. And I actually ended up making it 2 stories. Like, I'm actually pretty proud of myself. Like, there are things I would change about it, but I think it came out really well. And actually I actually started building it, and then I had to bulldoze the lot because I didn't like the way it was going. I was having trouble actually lining up the sides to make the A-frame actually straight on the sides. Like, I was having so many issues with that. And I think part of it was I made that bottom level a medium wall height, and then that kind of threw off all of the dimensions. And then I do end up adding in a second floor, I think about now. Yeah, and in case you didn't know, so the roof pieces in The Sims 4 are free. So when you add roofing to a house, that's all free. And when you place a roof, you actually end up having a wall right there. So you can actually use that as a wall for your home. So although like the bottom floor, like I actually drew the whole entire rectangle just so I could place a roof piece on top of it and I could draw on top of it. But then you can go back and actually take out the walls you drew on the sides with the roof pieces because the roof itself has walls and those were free. So I saved myself a ton of money on this, probably a couple thousand simoleons. So that's a huge tip if you are trying to build a cheaper home. Using roof pieces for walls is actually a good way to do it. And so when I created that second floor, it kind of created this interesting like roof bump out, which I thought was actually kind of cool looking and gave it a little more interest on the side, since this was literally just a gigantic triangle. Like, I felt like the little bump outs over the windows worked out really well. And I ended up on the second floor just adding windows on those walls as well so that you can really see all the way through. And because another downside to this is you are limited on where you can put windows in this kind of build, because you can't really put windows on the walls that are like the roof pieces, because then you still don't see anything. So you're limited that you can only put windows on the sides that are actual walls. And the other thing to keep in mind too when you're doing something like that is if you are to paint the roof piece, it paints the whole inside wall as well. So you can see on the inside here, I've already got those 2 side walls already painted because that's what I painted the roof piece, if that makes sense. So you do want to keep that in mind too, but again, I think is really worth it if you're trying to save some simoleons when you're building. And so then I just actually added like an accent wall piece on the ends and used that throughout the interior walls that I drew. Now I was careful not to draw too many interior walls because again, I was trying to save money and walls aren't cheap. And so I actually made the room upstairs the bedroom, and it has like this gorgeous view. Like, I really think this is kind of a neat build, and you can actually look down into the first floor there as well. And so I grabbed a bed from the high school pack. That was about as expensive as I was willing to go for a bed. I think it was like 400 something simoleons, so I was willing to spend it. And then just trying to find pieces that weren't super expensive. Eco Lifestyle is a great pack to utilize. A lot of the items in that pack are very affordable. So like all of the windows I used are from that pack. So if you want to do, again, a cheaper build, you can keep that in mind if you have that pack, or if you're trying to decide what packs to buy. I like the items in Eco Lifestyle, and like I said, they're pretty cost effective if that is something that, you know, you worry about when you're playing your game. So anyways, that's my advice to you. And actually I also, so later on, I did cut the piece out where I actually ended up going into the gallery and searching for wall art. And the reason I did that was because the art in the game is really expensive, and Obviously I wanted to put some up on the walls, but I didn't want to spend like bukus of money on like pieces on the wall, and I didn't want to have to size up the really cheap pieces because they a lot of times don't look great. So what I actually ended up doing was going to the gallery and downloading a wall that had a bunch of art on it, which is a great way, first of all, to get different kinds of art in your game, but that aren't like custom content, but to also get cheaper art, because I downloaded the whole wall for like 500 something simoleons, and that included the cost of the walls. So I could delete the wall back out that I had placed on the lot and then just use the pieces from it. So that is a good way to get some art. So later on you will see some art just magically appear on the walls that doesn't look like in-game art, and that's because I got that off the gallery. But that is one of my favorite ways to get different kinds of art and also cheaper art. And so definitely worth the money, like to get, I think it had like 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5 pieces of art on it. So I could use those throughout the build. And you can see here, I kind of have the ladder right in the middle of the room, and I'll be working on that a little bit later too, on how to kind of conceal that so it's not quite as just like there, if that makes sense. And I did actually, unfortunately, when I was building this, I was on Twitch building, so if you want to come join me sometime, there's a link down in the description to my Twitch if you want to follow me there and see when I go live. And anyways, I paused it usually I pause my recording for my speed build if I'm like talking to people on Twitch or I'm trying to think through something so that I don't get all of that like footage. And I forgot to press record again, so the kitchen just kind of appeared. So I apologize for that, but it was a pretty simple kitchen. It was a little bit pricey, but personally I feel like it was super worth it just because I really like kitchens and feel like they're worth putting money into. But also some exciting news for the channel. Yesterday I actually got the ability to post community posts, which is really awesome. So I can let you know when I'm live, or just like another way to talk to you all, or like if I can't get a video up or something like that, I can actually tell you. And like, instead of it just not happening or something like that, like I can actually talk to you, which is super exciting. I was really happy when I got that feature. I'm pretty sure it's kind of a random feature. Like, I don't think there's necessarily a particular trigger in like YouTube to like give a creator community posts, but I was really excited about that. But I also don't know if that is part of some of the updates they're doing on YouTube. So like I know they're coming out with YouTube handles and things like that in the near future. So I don't know if that's part of that as well. They're just giving out community posts. I'm not sure. But anyways, I will try to also post on my community tab when I like go live as well, if I can remember to do it. So you can drop by. And anyway, so you can see here I'm trying to use clutter. There's several wall pieces that I use from Eco Lifestyle that were so cost effective. Like I put a giant like bookcase organizer thing instead of that wall between like the office space and the living room. And I feel like that worked really well. Now I didn't include a computer in this because like the cheapest one was like 800 simoleons, and there was no way I was going to be able to afford 800 simoleons for that, especially because I did want this to be well decorated when you play in it. So I was grabbing just a bunch of stuff. Like I got that, it was a pretty large plant, but it was one of the cheaper plants, and I just kind of intersected it with the dresser. So it looks kind of like a new plant, but it was also large in order to decorate it. And so of course, if you want to download this, this is already up on the gallery under my ID, spicensprinkles, all one word, all lowercase, and down in the description if you want to see it written out. So if you want to download it and play with it, now obviously you can change it, redo it, whatever you want to do. Like, I don't know, I've been back and forth. I may end up making a video of like actually redesigning this because I actually really like this house, and I feel like there was things that I wanted to do in the interior that I really wasn't able to do, if that makes sense, like with the limitations. So I feel like I might want to put this house like on a bigger lot and do more decorating inside of it. I feel like that could be a whole lot of fun. So who knows, I might do that. And I pulled a lot of the landscaping stuff out of debug. So these stones are all out of debug. I ended up putting a bench and like a fire, like and coffee table thing out here. Those are from Debug and are free, but they do not work. Like your Sims can't sit on it or use the fire table, but I felt like it was really nice decoration to have in the backyard. And obviously when you get more simoleons, you can actually swap those out for the real in-game items that are usable if you would like to, or just take them out altogether. And I will say, when I was actually taking screenshots, I realized that those stones I placed, which look like paving stones, like your Sims should, I feel like, would be able to walk on them, they can't. So I ended up having to delete the 2 stones right next to the door so that your Sims can actually get into the build. So if you download this, those won't be there, but that's for functionality. Like the Sims were like, I can't get in the building, so I had to take those out. So I apologize. I didn't realize that when I was building. And then, like I said, just pulling a lot of the debug stuff out to do a little more decorating. And I spent a lot of time scrolling through just to find anything, little bits and bobs to add around just to fill in some of the space, because if you've been on my channel for any length of time, you probably know by now I really like clutter. I love putting it everywhere. So that was what I was trying to do, was trying to make sure the space still kind of looked lived in, even though there's not a lot of simoleons available. So I'm just layering a bunch of plants here. Again, all of this came out of Debug, so I highly recommend using Debug if you're doing a cheaper build as well. Again, as a reminder, the items aren't necessarily usable, but, you know, they look nice if you're trying to decorate. So you can see I've got that bench already out back, and then I come across that coffee table later that I put out there. And I'm going through just to see kind of what else I can find, like to see what I could decorate with. I found those candles, which I thought were really nice. And I know I think are an in-game item, but that version from Debug is 0 simoleons, so I used it. And so I just end up, like I said, just trying to find stuff. There was like a trophy that was 0 simoleons that I end up putting out on that bookcase because, like I said, I love clutter. And I thought about putting the umbrella table out there, but I figured, nah, I won't do that because that feels like it really should be usable when it probably wouldn't be. And so anyways, there's just a ton of stuff that you could do with this build as your Sims get more money, and it honestly could house a lot of Sims. Like you could easily draw a few more walls and get another bedroom on the first floor, I feel like. So, I mean, it's a pretty versatile house, to be honest, and I really am happy with the way it turned out. So we'll see if I actually end up doing a video on redecorating it, because I would love to do it justice. I feel like it could use a little more love, but I really do like the color and aesthetic I have going in here. But I feel like it could just use a little more, if that makes sense. But anyways, I hope you enjoy these screenshots. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And leave me a comment down below if there's an idea that you want to see on the channel. And I hope you're having a really sweet day. Bye, everybody.